She just can't wait for me. Said I need the toilet.
There we go.
Take over, Phil.
So,
It's a good toilet, Liz.
be quiet. Right, so do you want to fill your name in on that one?
Yeah, £1 is it?
Yeah, that's £1.
Is that my change?
Yeah. I'll just have the one. Yeah, it's your money.
What time is it all called out?
Later on this afternoon. Probably better West there. Okay, thank you very much. It does come off. Just going to end in a 1 or a 6.
Got one already.
Got one already?
I don't believe you.
96, Rosie. You can find 96. What's that one there? No, it's 235. 96, Rosie.
It's 96.
Oh, bubbles. Yeah, I got it.
Alright. Any of the others? No? Alright, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they were drawing in the sand, like we do, and with a little bit of water, they molded up.
So I've got to stand outside of it.
Now the very first Land Rovers came out, looked very much like a British Duke, but had Land Rover badges. And as it became a fruitful venture, it transpired into the Series 1. And of course the very first of Series 1 Land Rovers were born. Of course, when Land Rover first went into production, it was very, very challenging because there was such a shortage of steel after World War. And then we got the forward control versions, and of course one of those started life as an ambulance. The other one was a gun carrier. And of course, where I come from, a Salisbury Plain, you know, Land Rovers for me as a child was quite early versions then, back in the 60s. And we used to see lots of variations out on Salisbury Plain. Anyway, when we talk about Land Rover, it's a vehicle that will practically go anywhere. It's got good towing capabilities. Excuse me. And when you look around the back of the vehicle, it hasn't really altered because through the back of the chassis number, you have a hole. And that hole on the back of the chassis, on the Land Rover, was aimed at the farmer so that they can actually run off of the PTO shaft some of their ploughing gear through that hole into the PTO. Now of course that has never ever changed on the Land Rover. It's such a versatile vehicle. But when you get to the sort of versions of the forward control, they're a different kettle of fish altogether because these always had a big Rover engine. They had the 3.5 litre V8. It was quite a gas-guzzling machine to be fair. And the forward control again had that gripability, it would go anywhere. What a vehicle. But this I like. This is the way we display a Land Rover. And you leave it in its unmolested condition. It's not restored. It's just plain, simple, does what it says on the tin. And very, very original. There's always the argument, do you do a full restoration on an old vehicle, or do you leave it in its working clothes? As far as I'm concerned, I like it both ways actually. I like full restorations. I also like vehicles that are left in original condition. Anyway, very good morning. Second time in the arena for me. Thank you very much. 1961 Series 2. Gentleman's given me some information on the vehicle because the work in progress Land Rover has been owned by the same family since the mid-70s. Around 1985 it was parked in the barn and forgotten. Now all this is really important stuff. You fast forward it to 2 years ago, when nearing the completion of another project and look for the next one, a decision was made to recommission this very Land Rover. It was recommissioned with a minimum amount of new parts to keep it original for a lovely story. And of course, it is a lovely vehicle. It's got a lovely history about it. It's got everything you want to see on the Land Rover. We come along to 1975, which is a long way down the road from that 1961 vehicle. And you've now got the Series 3. And of course you've got different variations. You've got the hardtop. Now, again, on the short wheelbase, it's 88-inch wheelbase. You can also have a 109-inch wheelbase. And if you had a utility vehicle, say a cherry picker or something like that from electricity board, you would have a much longer wheelbase. But just look at this vehicle, it hasn't really changed. Hasn't changed from the Series 2. And when you look at the vehicle, you think, hang on, some parts you could interchange. And that is very true, you can interchange stuff on the Land Rover. I call it the big boys Meccano set. And of course with any Land Rover, you can take off the top. You can take the door tops off, you can take the wheel off the front, you can fold the windscreen down. Take it back to its MOD days, and up its sorted plane, they used to throw them out on a pallet at the back of Berkeley's aircraft. And of course those were the air portable versions, the Series 3 air portables. And of course they were a little short wheelbase vehicle, a lightweight they used to call them, and they had a very different bonnet to what you see on these. But anyway, nice to see you back in the arena. So Land Rover, always good fun. Take it anywhere, it doesn't let you down. How'd you get on with it?
Well, in the family, 21 years with my granddad. Gave to me. I've had it getting on 7 years, I think. It's been a daily driver for a while. From here, there and everywhere. It goes on. So.
Superb. What a lovely, lovely vehicle. But like I say, once you've got one, you sort of get the bug for it. You know, you sort of make sure that you use it and don't leave it sort of sat around. Of course they used to suffer from rust problems. You know, you had to check the bulkheads, you had to check the outriggers. But being a big boys Meccano set, you can soon get to work and do the repairs on them. Now, this one is somewhat different. Now, when we talk about the ex-ministry examples, we look at the original index mark. Now, an index mark is the registration number, but the Army call it the index mark. And it is stamped in the side pillar of the vehicle. Well, this ambulance in particular is actually on the side of the vehicle. Gives its bodywork, it gives its bodywork number, and its type. Now, of course, being an ambulance, that would have seen some service there with the Royal Army Medical Corps. Again, the source of plane was a big depot at Londonshire actually. But this vehicle, which dates to 1982, has got its Army index mark on there. So in other words, index mark equals number plate, 72 GJ58. So if you ever get to have a look at any vintage vehicles and you can't find the original number, just ask if you can inquire what its original number was, especially if you try and serve in the Army. Who knows, it might have been in one of the depots that you served at. But this vehicle has been recommissioned with a different engine because you can't really hold the 3.5 litre vehicle because that used to only do a handful of miles to the gallon. But this has been recommissioned. Good morning to you again. How are you? Absolutely fine. What a lovely vehicle. Leaving it in its working clothes, obviously. Having great fun out of it as a camper. But at the same time, you've done something about the first engine. What did you do?
We took the Rover we bought, the Rover V8 in it. It was a military Rover V8, so it was a low compression engine, and it was fitted with a gas converter, which made it even worse. There was afraid I was one of those people that spark plugs or pinchos and strippers only. So the Rover V8 after it let me get numerous times. The fuel economy wasn't bad to run the gas, but it was just an unreliable thing. So we took the engine gearbox in a bit, and we've now got a 200 TDI piece engine in it with a 5-speed gearbox in it. Obviously, we've still got the transfer box, the full forward drive functionality and everything like that. It's a decent, reliable diesel engine instead.
That's brilliant. Well done. A bit of engineering about the vehicle there. And of course, it's a nice pleasing shape because back in 1986 or so, I was working in Hampshire at Middle Wallop Army Air Corps Depot, and they actually had these as airfield response ambulances. They also had the fire engine versions out there as well. So, you know, very, very nice to see the forward control, lovely vehicle. And then we've got one very much different. This one dates to 1976. Not a lot of history known about it, but we had a quick chat yesterday. And again, it was a gun carrier vehicle, it's full of guns, and ex-military. Very good morning to you again.
Well, I bought this one off Facebook Marketplace about 7 or 8 years ago, I think. And it had a homemade truck cab on it, and worst power steering conversion I've ever seen. And TDI and 5-speed, much like the gas one there, it's got in it.
I decided that the steam drive wasn't man enough, so I rebuilt a 3.5 litre circuit turbo diesel and put that in it. And I used the gearbox that came out of that one. There's an original gearbox with an overdrive from a classic Range Rover on the back. It'll sit at 65 miles an hour. I redid all the power steering myself, and the wheels and tires are off and they're taking duty on, so they're bigger than that. Brilliant. And if we had a motorbike and sidecar, it would be a three-wheel vehicle. Roger, you've got it all wrong yet again, haven't you? No. You know what, you get a couple of motorbikes in at 10:30. Well, it's already 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, mate. We're running half an hour later today, aren't we? We did say those times of credit. We moved to stages and then shot through the next. But look at this, Roger. I do love a good Land Rover. I do love a good Land Rover. Just look at that. I don't know what Maurice Wilkes, the guy who, with his brother, drew that original drawing on the beach in Anglesey. I do wonder what he would make of the Land Rover family, because out of that was born not only Land Rover, but Range Rover, of course. So we've got a nice example behind you in the commentary box there. You've got a red one, which is in its working close. And that's quite an early one. That's 1973. Bearing in mind they were only launched in 1969/70. But from that famous family came the Discovery. And of course, yeah, just look at the Land Rover vehicles that we made. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands. Roger.
What you've got to remember, on the original drawings that they did in the beach, the original couple of prototypes they did, the steering wheel was actually in the centre of the Land Rover.
Yeah, it was.
And they thought that would be a better way so you could carry a couple of passengers. But they decided at the end of the day they wouldn't do that.
No. Anyway, thank you very much everyone. That's your military vehicles and your Land Rover section. Coming up at 11 o'clock is the parade of vintage motorbikes. So motorbike lads, get yourselves back to your machines, ready for 11 o'clock please.
Just an announcement now for the dog show. Will be on at 12:30. Dog show is on at 12:30. So if you want to book your dog in for that, please go up and register now. Thank you. So if you are bringing in your motorbike today in the arena, you'll be in the arena about 5 minutes time please. So if you're one of the motorbike schemes down there and like to go back to your machine and bring them in, we'll be grateful. And while we've got a couple of minutes, just to let you know that if you do have a dog you pick up, also if you need first aid cover for any reason, they are situated up near the main entrance to the showground. If you've got any other inquiries, then please do find one of the staff wandering around in yellow vests. They can help you with any inquiries on that. I have actually mentioned about joining the club as well. You can go up and do that at their marquee, and a very reasonable price to become a member. And for more members for the club, the better. We find it very useful, and the prices, as I say, are very reasonable on that.
I used to drive for the same company as me. Yeah, we've known each other for a long time. But it is sad that when you go around these things and you realise how few youngsters are taking up the mindset.
Around the arena.
There's a frog eye up there, but I don't think it's it.
Of course, you can't beat good motorbikes, can you? Because we are a nation of heritage motorbikes. And of course, it's not always about our British motorbikes, but we also encompass the foreign machines. And of course, when I talk about the foreign bikes, there were the things like the Japanese that came in 1964 and started to reshape our motorbike industry. Now, the first bike in the arena today is the Triumph, by the looks of it. And that is a lovely, lovely machine, followed by the aerial Arrow, I think it is, or Leader, one or the other. That's better correct me in a moment. And we have got, as I was talking about Japanese, we've got the Kawasaki there. We've got Norton. Of course, Norton was just one of our big names in the motorcycle industry back there in the 60s. Second Yamaha in the arena today. And of course the Japanese were renowned for style, they were renowned for price. And they offered something rather different. There's Honda, very early Honda. We talked about 1964, and there we have a 1964 there. Little funky bike, they were good fun. Lovely Triumph Tiger there. That's very, very nice, very, very good. And the BSA, we mustn't ever forget the BSA's contribution to motorcycling, because BSA not only did quality motorcycles, BSA stood for the Birmingham Small Arms. And they made ammo and small arms during World War II. And where I come from on Salisbury Plain, a little bit north of there, a Lambretta there, nice Lambretta on a 1967. That one would have been registered, it's got OM in it, that would have been Birmingham. So what have I missed then? What have I missed? I don't think I have. It's always nice to see a young person riding the machine, because this is how you bring in the future generation. You bring in the youngsters into the rally scene, because it's a great starting point to be able to let them join in with all the fun. Stories today. We really do.
They go silly bunny now, don't they? Thing is, they see what they've done for you, you can get them at pressure or something like that.
50 years ago when I was 16, yeah, that's about right, yeah, 50 years ago when I was 16, I was a motorbike man. I had my very first motorcycle, and that day for 1960, it was what they called an NSU quickly. And I mean, did you have an NSU quickly? What a machine, weren't they? They were absolutely amazing. But I used to pedal it everywhere and kept breaking down. You can pedal it all the time. NSU quickly, what a lovely, lovely machine. But where shall I start? Left to right or right to left? I can wait for our friend down there to join us as well. Yeah. Hopefully you come over. You've got a nice Bristol registration on this motorbike. I can see an HW on the number plate. And when we talk about putting number plates on things like the front guard, you know, they were always a very, very dangerous feature, because you went over the handlebars, those produced some serious injuries. And you can see from our good old British bikes how we made that as a feature on the motorbiking. But there we are. So sadly now done away from most, so I take it over the years. But look at it on the British and also the Honda stuff. All got that lovely feature of the motorbike number plate on the front. I wonder if our colleague is going to join us over there, hopefully. If not, we've got a little bit of time to play with. We can just start the lineup. And I'm going to start with the iconic Honda 50. Now this one dates from 1972, and again, it's a lovely starting point. And I'm going to talk about bringing in the young man as well, because you know it's so difficult nowadays to get youngsters involved. And this is the way forward, get them in on the motorbikes. Anyway, two machines, very, very similar. One's a 69, the grey one, which is in original condition. This was a 72 that we put a bit of restoration on. The early ones had overhead cam engines, and then they reverted back then to overhead valve. All sorts apparently, but not much talking about it. Oh, right. Excellent. And of course, when the young man's 16, he'll probably taking on the road. Yeah, he's managed to mix for school runs. Very, very nice. Now I'm going to talk to the young man now. Now, leaving a motorbike in this condition, we call it leaving it as you find it, basically. Does it regard it to either restore and do the full works, or you leave it as working close? What's your plan?
I think I'm just going to leave it as is. Like, maybe a little bit blacker over, but probably just going to leave it as is.
Excellent idea. Well done. Well, thanks for your input there, because it's always nice to talk to a young person just starting out in the motorcycle. Well done. Thank you. Now, when we talk about the Japanese stuff, I did mention it was 1964 when the very first of the Honda machines came into our motorcycle industry. Now, of course, we've got a very early one here. We've got a lovely product from Honda. Now, these were initially a little computer machine. And of course, it's a lovely vehicle. Anyway, very important to you. Very nice to see on the running too.
Yes. 1965, on that side. It's one of the first motorbikes coming to the company at this time. Thank you very much. The BSA band.
And of course, BSA bands were so fantastic established, weren't they? And of course, things like the post office telegram boys used to have the red versions with the panniers and deliver all the telegrams. Of course, nowadays everything's email, isn't it? So those days sadly gone. But restoration stories, have you got any for us?
What, restoration?
Anything?
Well, it was a wreck when I got it. So it's taken about 7 years, because you can't get the original parts of it unless you go to America, and then they cost twice as much, 600 bucks. But finally got it up together. Goes well, touch wood, and yeah, enjoy it, take it around the show, ride it around the thing, and you know.
All good fun, and you're using it, that's the main bit. A lovely, lovely machine. Now, this one looks through it with WO in the index. It's a Welsh machine, a Triumph Tiger. Good morning.
Yeah, this is a little Triumph Tiger Terrier, 150cc. Designed, I think, by Edward Turner and Val Page in Coventry. They made these for about, I think it was 2-3 years, I think, from 53 to 54, I think. Then they finished these and they took them up a few cc's to 200, and then they went into the Tiger Cup then. It's a full run of the cup basically. I've owned this one since the late 70s, and yeah, he's been just a lovely little boy.
It's lovely. What I love about the good old British bikes, and I hope our members of our audience around the arena get a chance to visit the bike section, have a look at the British bikes, because they made use of the headlamp cluster. They put in there the amp meters, they put in there the speedo, they put in the headlight switching devices. It was quite a clever concept, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, without a doubt, yeah. So and these are really, really pretty little bikes for a motorcycle, so yeah.
Lovely little commuter bike. Thank you very, very much for bringing it along. When we talk about different types of bike, there's a starting point for everyone. And of course, the starting point has to be with the moped. Once you get to 16, you can have the moped license, and then you work your way up from there. Once you pass that all-important test in 17, you can then start to move up the motorcycle ranks and start going up in power. And of course, that's what it's about. It's getting the bike that you so rightly want to ride and operate. Anyway, we mentioned earlier on the scooters, the days of the mods and the rockers, and just look at this, we're back into the 1960s, the days when the Beatles were at the top of the charts, weren't they? In 63, 64, 65. And we got a Birmingham registered vehicle. A very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, yes. We got a couple of scooters here from the Bristol Lawn Scooter Club. We come along every year. It's a lovely little show, this. What we got here is two SX 200s. Mine is actually a 150, but it's got the 200 engine. It is an SX 200. This one, it's got a 225 engine in it, so it's quite fast, quite loud. It needs to be a bigger engine because it's got a lot more bling on it, I think. Yeah, it costs a lot. Anyway, back in the 60s, there were a couple of branches of the young lads, as they're all here. We actually came with everybody else. The mods started off, and they like the Italian styling of these scooters, nice little slimline bikes. You could ride it with a suit on, you put a park on, keep yourself tidy. There was loads of these then who were all boomers, baby boomers. Yes, we chose to have these Italian scooters like the style. We used to put loads of plastic here on. And the young ladies felt safe on the back. I don't know why. I think I was told it's because we used to have these back racks, and they didn't feel as though they would fall off the back and put away. On the back of motorbikes, they didn't usually have these racks, and they felt a little bit unsafe. So yeah, we converted many girls into beer mods.
Fair enough. And of course with the scooter it was so advantageous to be able to get to all the mechanicals just by removing those panels, wasn't it? So you actually had all round sort of maintenance there. And as we move through into the blue one, and this is a different version again. This is the Vespa 19. It's got a lovely Bristol number plate on the back, HU in the number plate. And of course dates 1967.
This is the original Douglas Vespa in Bristol, where we're all from, well we are. They had a factory and they used to import these over from Italy in crates. And we used to see them all the time as young lads coming up in crates. They were towed by little 3-wheel Piaggio vans, and they used to, they used to just tow them all along, get all these crates, and they have people up there who used to put them all together, and they usually had a Douglas badge on them. But this bike is a little 90. I call it a girly bike. It's a lightweight bike. All the Vespas were made with a monocoque brake, not lighter than the Lambrettas, because these were actually made on the motorbike brake, quite heavy. So a lot of people liked the Vespas, they were lighter to control. Although, because the engine was on one side, a lot of people used to say, oh, I don't like Vespas, you're going to come over and fall over off the side. But that was a load of rubbish, because if you go to the straight line, no matter where the engine is, you go forwards. Yeah, it's a nice little example of a Vespa 90.
Well, thank you very much, and what a club it is, the Bristol Honda. Now when we look at this Honda here, we think instantly of the Honda step-through moped.
Hello.
And it is a full step-through, which is pretty awesome well. It is. And of course this was a motorbike, the Honda step-through was sold in their video. They did a 50cc, a 75 and a 90. So yeah, a very nice example.
Of course, a lot of them were 4-strokers. This is a 2-stroke. It's got a separate tank for oil, separate tank for fuel. It's belt driven. Favoured by the young ladies. It's a nice little lightweight bike. Shop in, brilliant. You twist it go, you just twist the throttle and off you go. Front the rear brakes.
Go back to my childhood growing up in our village, the ladies had a really beautiful bikes. They would work in the local shop in the next town, or go back there cleaning jobs, and their transport was a small moped or scooter. So there we are. What some lovely machines you guys are bringing us along. Anyway, when we talk about machines, this was a very interesting concept, the Honda monkey bike. And of course you used to be able to fold the handlebars down on this, and you can take it on the train. Of course British Roads stop that one, because you can't take petrol on the trains, quite likely so. But the Honda monkey bike, there's got 3 versions, 50, 70 and 90.
Yeah, so this was a lockdown project for my father-in-law Ken, just along from me here in 2020. A lot of the sort of fixings and stuff have been redone in stainless. Unfortunately, the original engine that was with it no longer any good, couldn't be rebuilt. So it was replaced with a 125 Lifan Chinese motorcycle engine. Real good goer, nice bit of fun.
And that's what they were. They were fun, they were a commuter bike, and get to work the other end, and get your bike off the train, off you go. City London, here you go. Anyway, look at this. This is somewhat different. It is unmolested. It's in its working clothes. It has to be said. You've got to leave it like this. You really have got to leave it like this, because this is lovely. Anyway, warm welcome to you. Get in the arena.
Thank you very much. This is the Anthony Beagle, only produced by the Anthony for 2 years, 63 and 64. try and compete with the Japanese Honda Centuries and things that were coming into circulation at the time. It was a bit of a flop for the SA really, unfortunately, depending on what bikes you prefer. The Japanese market just took over and the British market just stayed.
PSA were at the top of their tree, early 60s, right the way through, and they were the Birmingham with small arms, so wartime efforts, they put all that effort, like so many factories did, into producing arms and ammo. But they bounced back with their motorbikes, they were at the top of the tree there, and produced some lovely, lovely vehicles. My favourite PSA was always the Phantom. It had to be the Phantom. And from a childhood, I suppose, remembering the post office telegram in bright red with the Queen's crest and all on all that nowadays comes with email, of course, changed. Anyway, we have here a nice Bristol area.
What was that?
Let's be the number plate, but it's got a nice history because it relates to Mars, didn't it just? It's 1957, I believe, USSC 15, which was a 250 overhead bomb. It was a 30-unit motorcycle that the USA produced. Unit, normally the engine would be able to change. This one was a 400 unit.
It's so dry and hard on the soil.
Belongs to an elderly gentleman who's sitting up there.
Yes, we tried to do that when I was towards the end.
When we met yesterday, so we were talking about farm city council, is that right?
Oh right, I know what I'm doing there.
That real old track at Bradford,
you go on for a good look, it's still there. Because it's concrete area, so a lovely vehicle with lovely history.
Right,
now, Ariel, they had the Arrow, they had the Leader, they produced a good
Hand the photo.
Oh, great.
Yeah, very nice bikes. This one is 1960.
Put the money in the ashtray. Right, I suppose I better go and wander on around. I've got a stall here somewhere. I did see. I
like that.
You better go and follow them.
Thank you.
You take boxes of bits and build yourself something absolutely amazing. Now, I saw on the Honda Monkey bike that you've got a registration of UB which relates to Leeds, Wakefield actually. So I checked that one and confirmed it. But on this one, the UB relates to re-registration, does it, on this one? Unless you can tell me different.
I thought it was the original registration, but I couldn't be 100% certain.
I'm going to satisfy my curiosity. I'm going to look it up, you know. Brilliant. Anyway, what a lovely, lovely machine. Now, when we look at this one, 1964 registered RB, and we're back with good old-fashioned Triumphs. Now, they built some nice bikes, didn't they? Lovely commuter bikes, not heavy, and it's just so right.
Yeah, this is my 1964 Triumph Tiger Cup Sport. These days it's probably quite sporty, compared to what it's not very sporty, but it's still use it, it's just an everyday regular bike.
And of course it ran in competition with things like the James Cadet and stuff for size and fuel economy and everything else. Anyway, Francis Barnett, we don't hear much on Francis Barnett, of course. And Francis Barnett is one of those British heritage companies that did fabulous motorcycles. Anyway, HTG, DG, Gloucester, what do you know about the machine?
This is a Francis Barnett Roaring Out 51, 1948. I'm the second oldest from you, and I know it's only done 3,800 miles. Last time it was taxed was 1957. But yeah, I've done quite a lot of work to it. It's a barn boy, really. So yeah, it's got 122cc, gears 90 twin-core engine with 3 speeds, Stormy Arthur gearbox and change. So,
Sturmy Archer, we associate with push bikes, don't we? Sturmy Archer and the little handle clip chains that we used to have on push bikes back in the day. But then my push bike was a rally, so there's another name which also went into the motorbike world, rally motorcycle. That is very nice, my friend. Thanks for bringing it along. And when we talk Japanese stuff, they really produce some stylish bikes. They produce bikes which had everything but the young man wanted, which was so much more style, simplicity, and they look good, and their colours are good as well.
Yeah, they really went well as well. So this is a 74 Kawasaki H1E 500 trim. I bought a basket case. It was imported from America and it was in a right state when I got it. I couldn't have bought it in its own clothes because it wouldn't have held the fuel. It's had a big hole in the back of the tank. So, but totally restored it. There's still a few little bits to sort out, but getting there in the end.
Of course, the Japanese, you know, there was a Japanese motorcycle dealer down in Amesbury back when I was young, and of course everything arrived in a packing crate from America, from Japan, sorry. Everything was in a packing crate. You know, you can't believe it, can you? You know, so you sort of load them all, and then they're put together.
That's correct, yeah. Quite a crate, we're going to put the wheels on, shut the engine in, oil over fuel, fire them up, and just check them over before they give them to the customer.
That's lovely, thank you. And the final one in our long list today of motorbikes is again the Japanese stuff, and it's a Yamaha. And of course, you know, we talk of mopeds, we talk cruise bikes, we talk of commuter bikes. There was always a real small bike there, wasn't there?
This is the SRX 600. It's a 1985. I believe it was imported from America.
Lovely colours as well.
He dropped.
You cast your mind back to the Yamaha FS1E moped. And they
Yeah,
came
on
in
the
like
right.
4 standard colours. They wanted one, didn't they? That was the in moped.